Welcome in, everybody, to Monday Night Tailgate. I'm your host, Tyler Knaeble, and today we're going to be talking about Week 4, my biggest takeaways from Week 4. We're also going to do a Monday Night Football little betting preview. 1-0, by the way, in picks I've given out on this show. Only given out one pick, but it was correct. So we'll see if we can keep the streak alive. Let's get into it. What is going on? I'm your host, Tyler Knaeble, on Twitter at PPRTyler. Got a new webcam. I don't know if you can notice. Hopefully the definition looks better than my previous streams because I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this webcam. So hopefully it looks great. Hopefully I sound good. So hopefully all that's situated. Anyways, let's get into some week four stuff. It's a high-scoring week. It just felt like there were a lot of players that just kind of just really popped off. You had Achane again, Devon Achane. I heard keep here everyone calling him Achane, but we're gonna get it right on this program. Devon Achane, and you had AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs, just a bunch of guys really go off. CMC, that was one of my biggest takeaways. I'm gonna kick off the show with in parentheses I have to at least mention it takeaways, and one of those is CMC should have been the 101. Like, this guy is unbelievable. Like, Justin Jefferson's on a historic pace, like, for a season, but CMC just feels like it's just something different with CMC when he's in your lineup. Like, I'm literally going to have 25 points this game and I don't have to worry about it. So that feels great. If you have CMC, you drafted him. If you were a believer, especially like there was a lot of people taking Cooper Kupp in like July over CMC. So if you were a believer in CMC, congratulations. We also got We Were Right last week. If you read the article, go head on over to playerprofiler.com or our weekly article. There's one. The one for this week is up. It's what I'm going to be recapping in this video, but it's basically breaking down week 4 takeaways. And last week I said CJ Stroud and these Texans pass catchers are viable plays in your lineup. They're great plays. You can start them in your flex. You can start Nico Collins probably as your wide receiver too. That dude's been going off. We were right. CJ Stroud and the Texans are who we thought they were, at least coming out of last week. So that feels great. Again, Desmond Ridder cannot lead Pitts or London to success. I've seen enough. I'm a raging Falcons fan. You can tell by the Cordero Patterson jersey right there. I'm wearing a Shane Falco jersey for any of my replacement brothers out there. Also, never mind. That's a different story for a different day. But yeah, Desmond Ridder's not going to get it done for the Atlanta Falcons. If it's Arthur Smith, if I had to place the blame on somebody, it would probably be like Desmond Ridder, 75%, Arthur Smith, 20%, 5% Kyle Pitts, because he's not 100% healthy. It's people, I feel like that's not really talked about on Twitter. All you see is Arthur Smith and Desmond Ridder, but Kyle Pitts is not 100% healthy. He's not the 2020 Kyle Pitts we saw in his rookie year in terms of athleticism. He's coming back from a knee injury. He's still kind of making his way back from that, so he's not 100% healthy. The next takeaway I have for you is Khalil Herbert outtouched Roschon Johnson 22-6. Roschon's season is still on hold. I know everyone wants it now. They want Roschon to be an RB2 play in fantasy, but it's not there yet. And they proved it last week. Just watching Red Zone, Khalil Herbert was the only guy touching the ball. He outtouched Roschon 22-6. So Roschon's season's still on hold, but no need to worry. Hopefully it comes soon. He's probably still the goal line back anyway. I didn't see really that many goal line carries for the Bears last week, so missed opportunity there. Next one, Devon Achane looked a lot better than Raheem Mostert yesterday. Raheem Mostert put the ball on the ground, not gonna fly in the NFL. And Devon, I started saying Achane, and we're gonna get it right. We're gonna get Devon Achane. He got the goal line touchdown yesterday. I don't know if you saw, but he was kind of the goal line back, where everyone on Twitter in March and February was, this guy can't even run in between tackles. Now is he only running in between the tackles. He's the goal line back in Miami, seemingly. So that's great for the boy if you are an Achane owner. Last one, Quentin Johnson is not him, for real. He's just he had an opportunity at the end of last week. He had an opportunity this week. He just didn't get it done. He did make one nice catch, I think, on a third down. They had to review it, but there was so much room for him to kind of flourish in this offense. And I guess we didn't really see any of the Chargers pass catchers really do anything great. I think Keenan Allen had a touchdown, but he didn't really have anything else. Josh Palmer had a nice long reception to close the game out. But other than that, not really any kind of production from the Chargers wide receivers. But enough of the I have to at least mention it takeaways, and let's dive into the meat, the nitty gritty, the biggest takeaways from week 4. The first one I got for you guys is Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars are still alarmingly mid. Alarmingly mid. Since scoring 31 points in week 1 against the Colts, the Jags offense has put up 17 points in 3 consecutive weeks. I know they didn't score. They scored, I think, 24 points last week, but that was a pick 6. So I'm just including offensive points. They scored 17 offensive points in 3 straight weeks. That's not great. That's not great at all. Lawrence and some of his weapons have been pretty disappointing this year, to say the least. Here are the big names in the Jaguars offense and their averages over that span. Trevor Lawrence, 37 attempts per game, 234 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Not great. Calvin Ridley, 2.3. Remember, he had a monster week in week 1, but from weeks 2 to 4, this is what he's averaging. 2.3 receptions, 36 yards, and a touchdown. Christian Kirk, 7.6 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Evan Ingram, 6.6 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. And Travis Etienne, averaging 20 touches, 84 total yards, and 1 touchdown. That's not terrible stats, except for Ridley. That stuff's pretty alarming. But Kirk, Ingram, and Etienne, those are fine stats. But that's the problem, is that they're just fine. Where you drafted some of these guys, especially Calvin Ridley and Etienne, and even Trevor Lawrence, he was, I think, QB 7 or QB 8 coming off the board the entire offseason. That's not going to fly for the draft capital that you paid for them. You need to see better production than what you're getting right now. And I think the biggest problem is just it's the offense as a whole. That it's the touchdowns we're not seeing, especially if you're playing in a half-point PPR setting or even a standard setting. You need touchdowns to succeed in that kind of deal. You just need it, and we're not seeing it right now. I don't know what the problem is. Hopefully they figure it out there. I guess they're staying in London for a week because they play the Bills in London next week. They obviously just played Atlanta in London, so they're obviously staying across the pond. But I'm not saying you need to trade these guys right now. I think it's more like I wrote in the article. I'm going to say it here. It's for my soccer fans out there or football. It's a yellow card. The yellow card showing right now. It's a caution. You need to pay a very close attention to what's going on here, because I don't want to have to reach in my back pocket, pull out that red card, and offer Calvin Ridley for Romeo Doubs straight up, because that could very well where we could be heading in week 11. Calvin Ridley could just be averaging 30 yards and 2 catches a game, and I have to offer Calvin Ridley for Romeo Doubs after, I don't know, Evan Ingram misses a couple weeks. So I was like, oh, I can trade you Calvin Ridley. You get what I'm trying to say. Just not great for the Jacksonville Jaguars all around. Let's move away to takeaway number 2. Trade Terry McLaurin. I think he is a really good sell medium high right now, because he's coming off 2 straight games with a touchdown. One of those games, though, was last week against the Eagles. He fell on a fumble recovery in the end zone for a touchdown. Maybe, I don't know how many people in your league watch Red Zone or how many people actually knew that, but maybe you can catch somebody slipping and be like, oh, he has 2 touchdowns in 2 straight weeks. I don't really count including a fumble recovery as an earned touchdown. He fell on the ball. It's great hustle play. There's receivers that play their entire career that probably won't fall on a fumble for a touchdown. So you can kind of use that to your advantage in trade talks a little bit. If you're the person you're trying to trade with obviously does not know that. But the big concern here is Sam Howell for me. He had a really good game against the Eagles. That probably his best game in the NFL, to be honest. He finished 29 for 41, 330 total yards, and a touchdown. Great for Howell. It's a good stat line for how they lose in overtime. It's great for the team. He's probably be a starter for the foreseeable future here, but it's Howell's best game, and McLaurin finished with 8 for 86. That's not a bad stat line, but it was his best game. I would have expected a much better game from McLaurin. And McLaurin, he's averaging through 4 games, 5 catches for 53 yards. That's not great. He obviously has the 2 touchdowns. Like I said, he's had a touchdown this week and last week. So he has the touchdowns, which is why I think you could still trade him now. But the volume isn't, I think, where you want it to be if you are a Scary Terry owner like myself. I own him in a couple leagues. So I love Scary Terry, the player. I'm convinced if you drop this guy in Kansas City, he would be a top 15 receiver in fantasy. He's a really good receiver, but he is he's been plagued by his quarterback options he's had throughout his career. We've seen how this story ends. Alex Smith, Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz, Sam Howell, they're all the same. They all kind of have a couple good games, like kind of Heineke, Wentz, like those guys had a really good couple games, like, oh, maybe they can support Terry McLaurin, and they come crashing down. Defenses get some film on Sam Howell, and it's going to end just like it ended with Heineke, just like it ended with Wentz, just like it ended with every other Commanders quarterback. So I think if you can sell Terry McLaurin right now, get somebody like Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, Nico Collins, just some of those names. Jordan Addison did not have a good game, by the way, but just kind of names like that, guys who have I would say a better path to a higher ceiling than Terry McLaurin, because I think Adam Thielen probably has a higher ceiling. That sounds crazy to say, but Adam Thielen's been balling out the past couple weeks, especially Nico Collins been balling out the past couple weeks. So if you can flip McLaurin for maybe one of those guys or a running back, you get, like, if you could trade, you probably can't, but if you could trade Scary Terry for Devon Achon, I would do that in a heartbeat. Like I said, obviously you probably can't do that, but you never know. There's been weird trades that happened in fantasy football, so who knows? On to takeaway number 3. It's officially time to bench Joe Burrow. I don't know if you saw the TikTok that got posted on the Twitter page. Go check that out if you haven't, but this is the gist of it. I listed the gist of it on there. Here's kind of the more in-depth analysis. It was the final straw for me personally with Joe Burrow. I started him through thick and thin these first 4 weeks, but now I can't trust him anymore. This was supposed to be the week. They played Tennessee. Tennessee coming into this game had the 5th worst passing defense in the league. This should have been an absolute bombs away air raid for Bengals and Joe Burrow. But no, Burrow finished 20 for 30, 165 yards and 0 touchdowns in a 3-27 loss. Not great. Not great at all. Jahmyr Chase puts up 7 for 73. Like, it's kind of like the Terry McLaurin thing. It's fine. It's honestly not good for a guy like Chase, who a lot of people drafted 102. Some people drafted 101. I drafted him 101 in the league. So I feel stupid for that. But how is this? I don't see how this is going to get any better. You got the calf injury to Burrow. Obviously, that's hampering him a little bit. The offensive line isn't playing necessarily great. Joe Mixon not taking any pressure off Joe Burrow. Dude looks like he's running in molasses. He's like Joe Mixon. I haven't heard anybody get on Joe Mixon's case. Maybe it's because the Bengals offense as a whole just sucks. But Joe Mixon does not look great. He's looked better for sure in his career. Looked better last year. I think some people will say they saw this coming just based on how he looked last year, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. Also, T. Higgins, he's going to be out. I think there was a report today that said he might not be out as long as some people are projecting him to be, but who knows what that's going to look like. So this is just, you can't trust Joe Burrow right now. You can't, especially when we have these other quarterbacks, even on waivers, that have actually looked pretty decent. I'm starting CJ Stroud over Joe Burrow for sure. Jared Goff, Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is like QB2 in average points per game. I'm even starting Joshua Dobbs. Also, if you haven't seen Joshua Dobbs' Tennessee mixtape, look it up on YouTube after this. It is unbelievable. Unbelievable. You got to find the one with the right music. I forget the song, but it's a great mixtape. Anyways, Joshua Dobbs is playing better than Joe Burrow. That is a problem in itself. Who would have thought just 6 weeks ago I told you Joshua Dobbs would have a higher fantasy ranking than Joe Burrow? That's not great. It's not great at all. So that's just where we are right now. Don't drop Joe Burrow. Put him on your bench. Start somebody else, because it's just what you have to do. It's just what you have to do. You got to do what you got to do. And on to the last takeaway number 4. I'm sure you've seen this all over your Twitter page, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here because I feel semi-strongly about this topic. But Jahmyr Gibbs is not taking over the Lions' backfield anytime soon. And that's not what I feel strongly about, but it's just the truth right now. I mean, if you look at the Thursday night game, Dave Montgomery has 3 touchdowns, and Jahmyr Gibbs. So in the 3 games that Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs have played together, Gibbs is averaging about 11.6 touches per game, while Montgomery is averaging 24 touches per game. 24, that's insane. So not great if you're a Jahmyr Gibbs owner. For Dynasty, I wouldn't trade him away or anything. You got to hold on to him because he's still an electric asset. He's still got top 12 draft capital from the Lions. I know everyone sees the video of them banging on the table in the war room, going crazy when they draft him. I think that's why a lot of people drafted him this year in redraft, and it's not going the way a lot of people thought it would. And here's where I'm going to go on my little rant here. Here's the problem. Everybody on Twitter is in outrage saying they are trying to claim misuse. They're screaming for Dan Campbell's head. Misuse. They are misusing Jahmyr Gibbs. They don't know what they're doing down in Detroit. The Lions are a L franchise, poverty franchise. The Lions are 3-1 and have a top 10 scoring offense. It's not like the Falcons, because at least with the Falcons, I think this is why I feel strongly as a Kyle Pitts, Drake London defender, an Arthur Smith defender, if you will. Because at least with the Falcons, they lost the past couple of games. So everyone be like, you're not using your best weapons, Pitts, London, whatever. You can't say that with the Lions. They're 3-1. The only game they lost was an OT loss to the Seahawks in a high-scoring game. It definitely wasn't the offense's fault they lost that game. So I just got through a pick six. That's neither here nor there. All I'm trying to say, the Lions are 3-1. They're not switching anything. I would be shocked if they switched. They're like, yeah, you know what? In week 5, we're going to come out. We're going to give Jahmyr Gibbs. We're just going to flip-flop roles. Jahmyr Gibbs, you're going to get 24 touches a game. You're going to run in between the tackles, even though you didn't do that very well or a lot at Alabama. We're going to give in to the fantasy owners on Twitter because we are the Lions and we are the people's champion. They're not going to do that. They don't care about your team. They want to win football games, and that's what they're doing right now. Why would they change anything? So that's my biggest takeaway is Dave Montgomery's a beast. A lot of people, like Seth Dewald especially, saw this coming. I had a heavy David Montgomery bag because he was good. To be good in Chicago, I think that says something in itself. Like David Montgomery and the Lions is pretty much 2012 Adrian Peterson. Okay, that was too far, but you know what I'm trying to say. So going forward, I don't see how this backfield situation changes. I do think Jahmyr Gibbs will have a little more luck kind of throughout the regular season. I think he hasn't gotten in the end zone. I think he falls in the end zone a couple more times throughout the rest of the season. I think they do involve him a little bit more, kind of scheme up more ways to get him the ball in space. But as of right now, not looking great for Jahmyr Gibbs redraft owners. So I think if you this is just for redraft Dynasty, I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't trade him away, at least. If you can trade for, I would say maybe trade for him. Maybe there is a Dynasty manager who's disgruntled and you can kind of maybe give up. What would be a trade? I would trade Devon Achane. I see. Now I'm just trying to get it right. Devon Achane for Gibbs straight up. If you can somehow finesse that trade, I'd do it right now. While Achane cost is at an all-time high and Gibbs is cost at an all-time low. So in redraft, depending on who's in your league, I think he is a sneaky trade target if you can prime away from a disgruntled redraft manager. Maybe some guys you could like Tank Dell. I wonder if you could trade Tank Dell or Adam Thielen for Jahmyr Gibbs. I would definitely do that. So, all right. Those are my takeaways from week 4. Let's dive into Monday Night Tailgate. Monday Night Football betting preview. Let's answer Anthony's question. Anthony needs Danny Dimes to get 40. Hey, 40 for Danny Dimes? I was going to make a terrible change joke. Good thing I stopped myself. But we've seen crazier things happen. Seahawks defense, I wouldn't say isn't exactly the best. Like I said, they just got into a shootout with the Lions a couple weeks ago. So I wouldn't say it's the end of the world. Everyone drop some comments. We can have a conversation about really anything you want. But while we're waiting for those to kind of come on in the chat, let's talk about Monday Night Football. We got Seahawks versus the Giants this week here. So like I said in the preview, I'm 1-0 in player prop bets on Monday Night Tailgate. Granted, we didn't do Monday Night Tailgate the past couple weeks because there's 2 Monday night games, so the timing schedule situation got all messed up. But we should be good for the rest of the season. So I want to keep a record. I'm betting on everything myself because why would you take gambling advice from somebody who doesn't gamble, right? It seems wild. So here we go. This is what we got. I like Seahawks -2. I think they're the better team, especially without Saquon Barkley. They have more weapons on offense. I feel like the defense, it's not as good as the Giants, but I feel like they have enough players to kind of keep up with the kind of like, it's more of a wash than it is like a landslide. Like the Seahawks offense is a landslide better than the Giants, especially without Saquon Barkley. We really have not seen Darren Waller explode like we should have. We haven't seen any of these Giants receivers kind of really establish a role for themselves. So I think that's a question mark as well. So I just like the Seahawks. I think they're the better team. They have the better offense. I legitimately think I think Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. I know Daniel Jones got the money. Geno got paid too, but that's more like it's kind of like a 1-year deal if you dive into the specifics. Anyways, definitely taking Seahawks -2. Player prop time. JSN over 3 receptions. These are all courtesy of Underdog. We love Underdog. I love Underdog. Please, this is a Tyler Knaeble ad read. I'm not going to play the promo ad, but go check out Underdog. It's a great platform. I do all I'm watching Red Zone every day, every Sunday, and I'm just refreshing my weekly winners teams, trying to see if I can pull out first place. And in any week, maybe I'll get 20 grand. So I love Underdog. Go check it out. So JSN, I got over 3 receptions. Not a great start for JSN. Billy Muzio said today on First Class Fantasy, go check out that show. Just went live on the Player Profiler YouTube channel. He said JSN has the lowest ADOT, average depth of target, in the entire league, even behind Zach Ertz, which I saw a pass yesterday where Zach Ertz, like, he was probably running. It was like a drag or a curl or something, and he like was open, and then he like ran. Like usually when you're a receiver, you can run back to the ball, be a quarterback friendly receiver, run back to the ball so the defender obviously doesn't come off the top swatted or something like that. But he ran from he was like 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, and then he ran back to the ball like 7 yards. So he's like behind the line of scrimmage when he caught it. All I'm trying to say is that it's crazy that JSN has a lower ADOT than Zach Ertz, who is he's dust. Let's be honest. I know he's coming out the ACL. He had a great career, but he's dust. So, but that being said, I just think JSN he was too good of a receiver coming out of Ohio State. If you liked him in the pre-draft process, you liked him in the preseason, all the hype we were seeing for JSN, I think you got to bet over 3 receptions right now. I don't see how he catches anything less than 3. The only question is, will he get over 3? That might be a push on the over 3 receptions, but that's probably my favorite bet that I have for you guys tonight. The next one I have, Geno Smith over 250 passing yards. This Giants secondary does not scare me. What scares me is more their front 7, and that's why I'm kind of staying away from Kenneth Walker tonight. I just don't know what we're going to get from Kenneth Walker. He's actually got a lot more receptions. I talked about that in the last article over on playerprofiler.com. Go check it out. But Kenneth Walker is getting a lot more receptions kind of this year than he saw last year. I think he's on pace for around 45 receptions, if I believe that's right. So I just like Geno's over for passing yards. He finished, I think, top 5 in passing yards last year. I don't think we've seen a very explosive Geno game yet. Also, the last time he played at MetLife Field, it's not going to sound good when I say it, but I just bear with me. Last time Geno Smith played at MetLife, he tore his ACL when he was playing for the Jets. That was his last start for the Jets, and then I think it was his last start, like going into his tenure with the Seahawks, where he was a backup. I think for a couple of years, really, before he got any real run when Russ went down a couple of years ago. Anyways, my point being, a little bit of a revenge game for the boy Geno Smith. I think he wants to go out there. He wants to prove the Giants, Jets, anyone who plays at MetLife, that he is him. He did not write back. He will not write back to anybody who wrote him off. So I like Geno Smith. Primetime Geno. I love it. Give me Geno over 250 passing yards. And the last one I got for you guys, Matt Breida over 12.5 receiving yards. I don't think Breida's a great runner. We saw it. I mean, granted, San Francisco probably is the best defense in the league, but I don't think that Breida's strong suit is running in between the tackles. Kind of like a Jahmyr Gibbs, some may say, but it's not his strong suit. I think Brian Daboll wants to get him in space, utilize his speed, utilize kind of some of his shiftiness in the open field. I think they scheme up maybe a couple screens, a couple swing passes. I think Daniel Jones does check down a lot. Just watching, I know he throws it to Saquon Barkley. Saquon and Breida are 2 completely different players, but I think we see some of those dump offs or those check downs where Breida's going to be, where he's going to catch the ball and he's going to use some of his shiftiness. It's only 12.5. That's not a lot of receiving. He could get it on 1 pass, he could get it on 3. We don't know. So I like the 12.5 receiving yards. Hit the over on that. And I think we go 4-0. Go 4-0 on the picks to start off the year. Who says no? Who says no? Not me. I had a lot of fun doing the player profile on Monday Night Tailgate. I don't know what the rules are on me maybe cracking back a cold one next week. This is a tailgate after all. So, like I said, I don't know what the rules. Maybe I'll check with the boss, man. Maybe I'll get back to you on that. But everyone, it's Monday Night Football. We don't have to cut to Taylor Swift in the box at this MetLife Stadium. Let's have ourselves a great night. Geno Smith, Seahawks, JSN, and Matt Breida, they're all going to perform tonight. Let's go. Have a great, great night.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.